Good evening. My name is Ambriella Mira, and I'm here to welcome you to the Luminary ceremony at Sacred Heart University's Relay for Life. I am here to introduce the Luminary ceremony with how I've been personally touched by cancer. My journey began at age 11 when my parents asked me to come into my living room for a family meeting. And we all know that family meetings are never good. The first thing my dad asked me was, "Ambrielle, do you know what cancer is?" I replied, "No." My dad said, "Well, Mommy has cancer, and I know that you don't quite understand now, but this means that we have to support her in every way we can. Everything will be okay." Later in my life, I found out that my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, which means that this disease has spread and affected other parts of her body. In my mom's case, it was her liver that the cancer spread to. She was only 47, and this was her first diagnosis of this disease. And she was already at stage 4, which is the highest stage. Maybe everything wasn't going to be okay. But at age 11, hearing this news, I was baffled. I asked myself, what is cancer? Little did I know I would soon find out. I began to realize that cancer was a terrible and vicious thing. I began to see my mom lose her hair, which was scary for an 11-year-old to see. She would lose weight, gain weight, and feel happy and sad as if someone had a control switch on her. After a year of my mom battling this disease, my family and I began to get used to the routine of caring for her. My mom never let cancer stop her from living a happy life. She didn't feel sorry for herself or complain that she was sick. My mom received chemotherapy treatment at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in Commack, New York. When I walked into that office once a week with her, I knew that she was getting the best care. For 6 hours, I would sit with my mom while she got her treatment. We would watch Ellen, eat mini Oreos, and just spend time together. These treatments weren't easy for her. It would basically suck the life out of her, and she would have to rest for hours after. Since these treatments were so draining, I was forced to grow up pretty fast around age 12. I had to learn how to do laundry, clean, help cook, and all of the things that my friends didn't have to worry about doing. Helping out was a huge transition for me. I have 2 older brothers who are 17 years older than me and live in Florida, so this left a big responsibility on my shoulders. I wanted so bad to be like my other friends, just to play like a kid and have no worries, but those were not the cards I was dealt. It was scary to see my mom always tired, that she couldn't do the things she used to do. I didn't understand. The doctors began to worry that my mom's tumors were not shrinking, so they decided to take drastic measures. They planned to operate on my mom and give her a mastectomy, which is the removing of the cancerous breast and some lymph nodes. This was one of the scariest days of my life. At age 13, I had to watch my mom go through the worst surgery a woman could get. Losing a breast is like losing a part of your womanhood. It is very hard to cope with. After the surgery, my mom said she would feel very self-conscious. She would always say she felt ugly and different. This broke my heart. I felt helpless because there was nothing I could do to ease her pain. I couldn't possibly understand what she was going through. But this surgery meant that they were removing the cancer and that she would be cancer-free. Well, that's what the doctors thought, but only 6 months after, the cancer returned, and this time it was stronger. The little amount of cancer cells that were in her liver rekindled the disease. The next 4 years were the longest stretch of her sickness. She had ups and downs, bad days and good days. Our family began to get used to the routine of caring for her again. My mom is my best friend. When I was younger, I hated being without her. She was the only one who understood me, and she taught me so much. There were times when I was scared that I was going to lose her. I would cry to her saying, "Mom, I don't want you to die." She would reply with, "I'm fighting hard to stay here with you." Throughout those 4 years, I had to watch my mom go through pain that I couldn't even imagine. I was angry because this awful disease was hurting my mom, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. At around August 2010, after I returned from a vacation with my boyfriend to Lake George, my parents called another family meeting. My brothers and sister-in-law were in from Florida, so I knew this was something big. This was where I received the worst news a daughter could hear. My dad told me that my mom had 1 to 6 months to live. This came as a complete shock. I hardly asked about my mom's progress because I didn't want to hear the bad news. I only waited until they announced the good. This was not the news I was expecting. I was horrified. After all the fighting, I felt like we had lost. I cried hysterically to my mom, saying I didn't want her to go. This was the day I received my first car. I was 17 years old. That night, I prayed to God to take back my new car and all the good things I had. If he could just please let my mom stay here with me. Things got worse fast. She began losing weight very quickly. She began to lose coordination. She couldn't drive, make full sentences, or even walk. The process of cancer taking over her was slow and extremely painful. I tried to spend every moment I could with her, no matter how painful it was to look at her. It was hard because it was senior year. I had so much going on. How could I possibly balance my life when my mom, my hero, was slowly dying at home? In her last few weeks, things got even worse. Hospice came every so often to bathe her and check her vital signs. At this point, my mom was still not giving up. My family would come and see her, and she would still put a smile on her face and crack jokes. She would even get up out of bed when she could barely walk and say that she wanted to take the family out for breakfast. Her sickness came to the point where she couldn't speak, but she could hear. My family and I each had our moments to speak with her and say what we needed to say. When it was my turn, I thanked my mom for everything that she has done for me. I told her that she was my hero and that I want to be just like her someday. I told her that everything would be okay. I would go to college, get married, and live a happy life. I told her that I would hold the family together, just like she did for all those years. The last thing I said to her was, "I hope you will watch over me." And she miraculously, like a miracle, when she couldn't physically speak, uttered, "I will watch over you." This is the moment when I felt connected to her the most. Our hearts felt like one. This was the reassurance I needed to let me know that all I had done was worth it. I felt at peace knowing that she would be in heaven, where she could feel no pain. I felt the hole in my heart begin to fill. This moment gave me the strength to deal with what was coming next. My mom became a lifeless shell. She couldn't speak, walk, or even move. Her body became fragile, and she was in such discomfort. She was suffering. This was another point in my life where I had to grow up real fast. I was forced to go from age 17 to 25 in 1 second. My brother would tell me, "Ambrielle, this is your mother, and you have to take care of her. Don't let these nurses do it." No pressure, right? My brothers were always hard on me, but it made me tough. I had to do everything for her, bathe her, give her medicine, and help her walk. It was so scary to see my mother in this state. I was also not allowed to cry in front of her or show that I was scared, even though she knew I was. I was basically an emotionless zombie. I saw things that no daughter should ever see her mother go through. I saw her body decay and slip away at the slowest pace ever. It was traumatizing. After what it seemed like forever, October 23rd came. At around 7 o'clock p.m., my mom's breaths began to shorten. She took these short breaths for about 20 minutes, and it felt like forever. My dad, brothers, sister-in-law, and myself were crowded around her bed, holding her and saying our last goodbyes. I was holding her hand the whole time. We told her, "Mom, it's okay to go, please. We don't want you to suffer anymore." We wanted her to be at peace. At around 7:26, her hands in mine, I watched her take her last breath and slip away into God's hands. We cried for what felt like forever. I've never cried so hard in my life. She was gone and she was never coming back. But all her suffering was over. She was truly in a better place. After all the crying and initial shock was over, we called the extended family to come say their last goodbyes. I felt comfort in knowing that we honored my mother's wishes. All she wanted was to pass away in her home with her family around her, and that is exactly what happened. After the extended family left the room, I had a moment alone with her. Although I knew it wasn't her lying there, it was just her body, I swore I saw a smile on her face. I knew she was happy that the family was together and that we were all supporting each other. That was all she really wanted. The next few days were not easy. The wakes and the burial truly meant that she was gone. Family, friends, and acquaintances came to say their last goodbyes and to support my family. Remembering her at the wakes was heartwarming. Seeing all the people that she touched and all the people that cared about her was truly amazing. The burial was the toughest day. Watching them close the casket was heart-wrenching. At that point, I knew that I would never see my mom's beautiful face in person again. As we rolled her casket into the church, my dad read a eulogy, and I read a piece from the Bible. I knew that she was looking down on us right now. I felt her. After burying her, It was now the time for recovery, but I thought to myself, how could I ever survive without her? They say that the first year of a traumatic loss you feel numb. You don't really feel it yet, but you realize what happened. This was true for me. I was unable to remember her in any way. My defense mechanisms prevented me from remembering because it was just too painful to realize what I had lost. I am now past the first year of her being gone, and I am on my second. The second year is where you finally start to grieve, and it is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. There is no rule book for losing someone. You have to figure it out on your own. It still hasn't fully hit me yet that my mom's not here. Recently, I've had many dreams about my mom. She has been coming to me in these dreams and telling me that there's a tough road ahead for me, and that grieving her loss is not going to be easy. But she said that she'll watch over me like she promised. These dreams give me hope in knowing that although it seems hard now, there is a light at the end of the tunnel for me. I am still grieving and working on remembering her and accepting what happened, and it is not easy. But I know that I have the most beautiful guardian angel in heaven looking down on me. I am strong like my mother, and I truly believe that I can fight through my battle just like she did hers. I am not here to tell you that death is the inevitable with cancer. I am here to give you strength and hope towards the road ahead. To those who are fighting, lost someone, or is honoring someone here today, look around you. Look at the faces next to you, the bags around the track, and please know that you are not alone. I do not believe that my mom lost the battle to cancer. I believe she won. We are all fighters here, and the way to win this battle is to band together and not let this disease overcome our spirits. I know that my mom is looking down on me today smiling. She is happy to see all these people out here supporting this cause. On the road ahead, remember this. Life is all about perspective. Look through this terrible disease and see what is good rather than what is bad. As Abraham Lincoln once said, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. Thank you.